Welcome to ALB UK TV. I'm Anna Kola, and today we have a special interview with 4 inspiring and courageous young men who call themselves the Dorabros. This year they will be taking on a series of challenges, from running the Sahara, swimming the Channel, to rowing the Atlantic, and all in aid to raise £100,000 for the Teenage Cancer Trust charity. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. So I think what would be good is just to have a quick introduction to each and every one of you, so everyone can know who the Dorabros are. Should we start with maybe Rufus yourself and work our way around?
Of course. I'm Rufus. I'm a law student at the moment, and I met these guys when I was at uni with them.
I'm James. I'm a software engineer. I work for a company called Kaizen Reporting, who have very generously given me 2 months off this year, to row across the Atlantic. I went to school with these 2 chaps, and I met Rufus at university.
I'm Jeremy. I'm a chef. I was born and raised in London, but both my parents are from Kosovo. And I met these guys in school, played rugby together.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I work for Hitachi Consulting, doing business development. And again, met James and Liram at school and met Rufus whenever I went to visit James at University of Edinburgh.
Nice. Okay, so tell me about the Dorabros. How did this all come together? He wants to start.
It was his fault. So
I guess I'm probably guilty of that. Yeah, so I cycled across to Kosovo last year with Liram. We cycled onward to Istanbul as well. And whilst we were in Slovenia, I decided to put the idea of possibly rowing the Atlantic with Liram. And straight away Liram agreed. I was pretty chuffed. And then when we got back to London, we decided who else is quite crazy and would enjoy doing this. So first person on the list was Charlie. Charlie signed up straight away. And then we decided we needed someone who could row as well. And Rufus has just won gold at the Fiji World Championships. Wow. So yeah, I was quite lucky to have a good bunch of friends who were willing to do it with me.
Nice. Rufus, I heard you were quite reluctant initially. Why was that? Was it just hanging out with these guys?
Well, once I had to think about what rowing the Atlantic would entail, it involves 30 days on a 7-metre boat. Sleeping with him and having to talk to him. So that took a lot of convincing, but we're a good team now, and I promise we're all friends.
Good to hear. So what does the Dorabros mean? Tell me a little bit. I mean, I guess you've got a little fishing sign on the top, so...
Yeah. We do. It's one of the most common fish that you'll find across the Atlantic. So a lot of what we're doing is eating packaged food, but we'll be doing a lot of fishing as well, and this is one of the... This is probably the fish that we'll catch most crossing, and as we're all sort of brothers growing up in arms, that's where the Dorabros has come from.
Okay. So I guess, James, you're to blame.
Yeah.
For these challenges. But I mean, you're doing this for an amazing cause, which is a Teenage Cancer Trust charity. Tell me a little bit about the charity and why particularly you chose the charity, maybe, Liam, if you want to.
So it's a charity that's quite dear to all of our hearts. When we were at school, we lost a young individual to cancer, and I think it affected all of us quite badly. And ever since then, everything that we've done, whether it's a bake sale to like a rugby tour, anything like that, it's always been raising money for the TCT, so it's always the number one really for us.
Fair enough. I heard that you actually went to the charity itself. Was it the London?
We did, yeah.
It was, yeah.
UCL, yeah. The hospital.
It's the UCLH Hospital, Macmillan, is where the Teenage Cancer Trust is based. And so throughout our challenges, our goal is to raise £100,000 for them, as that will support a new treatment ward at the hospital. So that's what all of our challenges are focused towards.
Okay, and how is it going to see, I guess, some of the teenagers like going through this terrible illness? It must have been quite hard to...
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's one amazing thing that they do, the Teenage Cancer Trust, is they provide these chemo backpacks. So obviously children need chemotherapy in order to, help them fight this disease. And rather than making them stay in the hospital in a sterile environment, they come from all over the UK to London. And if they're well enough to not have to stay in the bed, then they get given a rucksack that delivers the medicine whilst they're walking around London. It means they can go to Hamleys, go and see Madame Tussauds, all these great things, make a day out of it rather than it being just a sterile, morbid environment, which is really what we're hoping to push forward, and that's the part of the charity that I personally like most.
It's also about motivation for us, knowing that, you know, these kids are going through such a tough time, and what we're doing is pretty hard, but what they're doing is even harder, so it definitely pushes us and makes us want to go that extra step and drive us.
Just puts it into perspective, really, right?
It really does, yeah.
I think I read on your website you had put on there that what you're doing is half in terms of what they would have to go through having this terrible illness, and you're doing for those that can't. And I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Interesting fact about the charity, it says that every day in the UK, 7 teenagers between the ages of 13 and 24 are diagnosed with cancer, and this charity really helps support that initial kind of diagnosis to treatment and aftercare. So really just puts into perspective why the charity is so important and why you picked this charity. So
yeah, it's the only charity in the UK dedicated specifically to look after teenagers aged 14 to 24. That's the age gap that they specifically look after. They've got 28 units in total across the UK. And one of the good things, like James says, with these backpacks is actually that the nurses are now mobile as well. So a lot of people in remote areas can get treatment that aren't able, or maybe don't even have the money or services to get to a hospital to be able to get that. And this is the only charity dedicated to make sure that these people are getting the treatment that they deserve. So.
that sounds good. I mean, you're ultimately putting your bodies to the test for such an amazing cause, so you should be incredibly proud. In terms of the challenges themselves, let's talk a little bit about them.
Yeah.
So there's 5 challenges in total, is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Starting in April, ending in December.
Yes.
The first one being the walk in the Saharan desert in Morocco.
Run.
The run.
Yeah. On your website it does say walk.
Is it?
Oh, we need to edit that.
Okay.
It's a run, yeah, sorry.
It's actual run. So it's 6.
6 marathons in 5 days across the Sahara Desert, so it's a total of 251 kilometers.
Wow,
And
okay.
you're completely self-supported, so you have to carry all of your food, all of your sleeping equipment, all your cooking equipment, and an anti-venom kit
Yeah,
with a venom extractor.
yeah,
The thing that we're tossing up most about at the moment is the food, because it's a balance between carrying it and wanting to eat it. They say you're supposed to take far less than you actually need, so that you're starving throughout.
yeah.
But it's...
We've realised in training how hard it is. So after we did 20 miles this morning, and once you finish that run, you're just starving. So we just fill up with calories, and that's like 1,000 calories there. So it's that debate whether...
But how do you prepare in terms of the weather difference? I mean, you're practicing here in the UK where it's freezing and you're
Baltic.
going to like...
It is,
This morning was so cold.
So you have to acclimatise, you have to do heat acclimatisation. So for us, we use the resources that we have here in London. We're both members of a gym. They have saunas in it. So we've been told to layer up, put all your clothes on, get in the sauna, stay there for about 60 to 90 minutes, hot baths. Whenever we do run, we run with all of our gear, with big hoodies on, so we try and make ourselves as hot as possible. We try and simulate the conditions.
We've also partnered with the University of Westminster, and so they're allowing us to use their heat chamber for the month of March. They say you're supposed to have at least 6 days where you're acclimatizing to the heat, and then your body should hopefully adjust. So Liam and I will be running on treadmills inside in those heat chambers, which I can deal with the cold. I think the heat is probably the issue. The being on a treadmill is the hardest thing. It's not moving.
No.
A close comparison, I think, is last year when there was the Beast from the Storm, and then when people ran the London Marathon, it was 30-degree heat in such a short period of time, and people were collapsing throughout that. This is going from, 10, 12 degrees to 50, and doing far more than that, running up and down sand hills and dunes and small mountains. So,
and it's actually been said that it's the world's toughest foot race.
It is, yeah.
That's what attracted us to it, really. If it wasn't, I don't think we'd have
So a bit
fancied
of
it.
a devil, are you guys?
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
No, sounds good. All I can say is don't forget your water and your sunscreen.
Well, our water's actually rationed, so we don't have that much. They only give you a certain amount, and they cap it at that, so you can't drink too much,
And we do have a sun cream sponsor. So we've got a great company called Life Jacket, which are dedicated towards making a sun cream that is purely for preventing cancer. Men are 100% more likely to get skin cancer than women are. And so it's trying to make sure that men apply sun cream by giving this, by creating a brand that is specifically for men.
Because men are much more likely to get skin cancer, but they're a lot less likely to buy sun cream. So that's really targeted to try and get us on board and take care of ourselves.
And they're called Life Jacket, so it's a pretty perfect name for
it. He actually had cancer himself, and has come out the other side much better from it. So it's actually a cause which is quite close to his heart, which is why they approached us initially. So.
Life Jacket.
Cool. Well, good luck with this race.
Thank you.
It sounds very intense. So the second challenge, that is in July, and this is called From Rome to Home.
Yes.
Who wants to tell us a little?
I suppose it has to be either myself or Liram. I can start with it. So, as I said, Liram and I cycled to Istanbul last year, 2 years ago now.
2 years ago, yeah.
And it was probably the most fun I've ever had in my life, and absolutely loved it. Going through the mountain passes, it was absolutely phenomenal. All you care about is eating food, drinking water, and getting a good night's sleep. And it strengthened our friendship greatly, and we thought that it would be a great chance for the four of us before we went on the road to really bond. And so we decided to kind of do a smaller version that was a bit more intense. So,
are you all planning to keep the same pace, or?
Yeah.
We're
just going to cycle as a team and enjoy it rather than racing it.
I mean, is it just you guys, or are there other people that are taking part in a similar challenge?
This one's open for other people to join in. So a lot of the other events that we're doing are actually races, and there's certain rules and caps with them. But this one, we really do encourage everyone who wants to come on board and try and help raise further money for us, and maybe hit a different demographic to join in.
You'll get a nice view of the French Alps as you...
On the way down, I think.
Nice. The third challenge is in August, and it's called Ironman
Vichy. That's the place in France where we're doing it.
Okay, so that consists of a swim, a cycle, and then ends with a marathon.
Yes.
Sounds intense.
Ironmans are quite famous endurance events, and it's something I thought of doing when I stopped rowing, and something these guys really wanted to do as well. So we decided to do the same one together and bring it in as another one of our challenges. There's a 3-mile swim?
3.8 kilometre.
3.8 kilometre swim, then a 180 kilometre bike ride, and then a marathon once you finish the bike ride. And that's a big race that takes the whole day, so that's going to be quite a tough challenge.
And you're still going to keep the same pace on this one too?
No, that one we're doing individually.
We're going to be racing each other.
Yeah, let's see. That's going to be
these two will be
an ego test.
So I have to try and catch them.
Yeah, the people at the top of their game are doing it in about 8-9 hours minimum. So I think we'll probably aim for 12-13. But yeah, it's a long race.
You've been preparing for similar kind of activities here at home?
Mainly James and I have just been running because we've got the marathon to start, but kind of all the challenges that we have kind of coincide with one another. So the marathon to start, we're used to running marathons, so that'll come in handy for the Ironman. The cycle tour that we do, we'll do the Alps, so again, that'll kind of come in to play as well. So everything we're doing kind of fits in with it. So we're kind of doing training for it, but not specifically for the Ironman just yet. Yeah.
To focus on.
Yeah, we do.
Now, the kind of fourth challenge in September is a relay swim across the English Channel. I mean, this one to me would be kind of my worst nightmare.
Mine too.
I think Charlie, you put on there that that was your main kind of fear, open water. Is that accurate?
My biggest fear is when you're snorkeling and then suddenly you can't see the bottom, and this is going to be a hell of a lot worse, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's about 22 miles, I think, completely across, but you don't just go in a straight line. The tides are going to be making you go left and right. You might swim for an hour and actually go backwards, but then you have to make the most of it when the tides are with you. We have another 2 members in our team for that, and you do an hour each until you finish, basically. So you might start in the middle of the night, depends on how the tides work. But the temperatures are going to be pretty cold, and it's going to be quite enduring, and hopefully no sharks.
We're also not allowed a wetsuit because the first man who ever did it didn't wear a wetsuit. So to try and simulate that, what he had was goose fat, I believe. So
he swam breaststroke and drank whiskey.
Yeah. We'll be doing the goose fat, but not the breaststroke or whiskey.
But fortunately, we've just got a sponsor, Dry Robe, are sponsoring us. They provide these incredible wizard robes. They just keep you so toasty.
Well, and we've got a sponsor for the swim as well. Don't
We do Budgie Smugglers, if you've ever heard of them. They're sort of a traditional Speedo, but you can customise them with your own different colours. So we've actually got the Dorado fish and the colours that they have as our swimming costumes. So
Okay, can we expect a picture of that on your website?
I think so, 100%.
It might be
More than
banned,
one
but-
picture. Maybe we'll do a bit more training first. See if I feel.
I also read your dad's been helping out on the swimming part.
Yes, so his company Fiducio, first of all, are sponsoring the whole of the swim, which is really handy. And he's going to be 61 this year, so he'll be swimming it with us. He's one of our extra members.
Ah, okay.
He's actually the best
Best
swimmer out of all of us at the same time as well. But all 4 of us are now part of a swimming club, which he does, where sort of twice, 3 times a week we'll be going down and swimming for an hour to try and get better, because we weren't particularly good swimmers when we started off, I don't know, probably 6-7 months ago now. We've come along quite a long way, but there's still a lot more progress to be made. But yeah, he's helped out significantly.
I mean, as I said, this one would be like my worst nightmare, especially like just tackling the freezing waters, I think.
I don't think it'll be too warm.
Funny story
It
there.
won't be too warm, no.
And the rules are very strict as well. It's quite a historic race. So, for example, when you get in the water, you have to go in behind the person who's swimming, and they can't get out the water until you've got in.
And you've overtaken them.
And you've overtaken them, just so you don't gain any advantage. So it is completely strict, and if you don't abide to all these rules, you might not get your nice certificate at the end to say that you swam the channel properly, as they put it. So yeah, it's quite tough.
Strict as well.
It is, yeah.
It is,
Okay, so moving on to your final challenge in December, which
big
is
one.
the massive one, and it's part of the Talisker Whiskey.
The
Atlantic
Talisker
Challenge?
Whiskey Atlantic Challenge is the name of the race, and that's a race from La Gomera in the Canary Islands to Antigua in the Caribbean, and so that's a 3,000 nautical mile unsupported rowing race across the Atlantic.
Wow. And I guess you're the expert here, right?
Well, I haven't done my ocean rowing course yet, but trying to teach these 3 is testing my patience a lot. I think we're getting better at rowing because of it.
I was going to say, how have you been teaching the guys to...
Well,
Shouting.
A big wooden stick.
a whip is what I need. I've joined them up to the University of London Alumni Boat Club, where I used to row last year. And we're using their boats, and we started the coaching from their boathouse in Chiswick. We've been practicing on the Thames.
Nice, okay, because you've got quite a lot of accomplishments when it comes to rowing yourself, right?
Yeah, I don't really get much credit for them in, in the team here.
Well, here's your chance.
No, I can't brag. They wouldn't let me get away with it. I started rowing at Edinburgh University, where I met James.
Yeah.
And I've rowed for them, and I've rowed for Team GB as well.
Oh, that's a big accomplishment.
Thank you.
So clearly they definitely need you. Because it's the biggest challenge by far, I think, out of all
But
the challenges.
it's a big mental challenge. It's a hard physical effort, but to sleep for 2 hours, to row for 2 hours, and to keep that routine going every day for about 30 to 40 days is it's going to be a big effort for all of us.
So there's, along with sort of the tiredness and everything else, I mean, with the marathon de Sable, it comes in as well. So you think about the calories that you have to eat, you're always going to be in a calorie deficit. Because on the road, we'll eat about 6,000 calories a day. Then you'll be burning more. But then when you take into consideration the sunburn, your cuts and scrapes, that all takes calories to help repair yourself. So it's one person, I think, a few years ago, lost 36 kilos on the road. And there's a nice before and after shot. And yeah, he's pretty skinny at the end. Some people have taken up to 90 days to cross. They are more of the solo teams, so we're hoping we're going to be doing it a little bit quicker than that. But yeah, I think the plan for us is to probably go out and win the race, which is good. There looks like there's a few competitive teams out there, which gives us a bit more determination in our training for sure.
So what do you get if you do win the race?
Pride.
And we're definitely going to try and win the race.
Yeah.
That's our number 1 priority.
That's good.
Yeah, nothing material really. There's no actual.
So there's no
prize.
actual prize from the Talisker Whiskey, it's just
No.
knowing that you've won it. And
It's more the actual fact of doing it, the journey that you go on with friends. You know, the stuff you see, whales, sharks, all these amazing sights. Yeah, it's just the journey in itself. I think is a prize. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie, I also read that your mum competed in a sailing challenge when she was younger?
She did at 25, so the same
What was
age
her
when...
tips?
Yeah, tips, don't do it.
She said that to us, not to do with you.
No, so she found it all quite daunting, I think. The ocean, I think, can make and break someone, and her sailing experience wasn't particularly vast. They did quite well, I think, in the race, but yeah, it was pretty intimidating, I think, when she was out there. The conditions were quite rough. So she, if out of anyone, I think, can understand what we'll be going through on quite a personal level, which is probably why she's so nervous the whole time. But there we go, she's coming round with terms with it all. So.
I'm sure it'll bring you all together. And I think going for the same challenge.
Make or break, you never know. Hopefully it's make.
Sure will be. So which one out of the challenges would you say you're all most anticipating? Maybe we'll go around. Rufus, I'll start with you and go around.
For me, it's the row. That's the big one. At the
Even
end
though
of
you're
it.
the best at it.
Yeah, it's the one. It's the one I'm looking forward to doing the most as well, because to be with my 3 best friends out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean is going to be an amazing experience. And I'm quite a competitive guy, so to have a race to do as well at the same time makes it that bit better for me.
I'm least looking forward to the Marathon des Sables, the run. I'm not built for running, and I'm going to struggle with not eating enough. And I'm looking forward to most the row as well. Just thinking about midnight on New Year's Eve, in the middle of the Atlantic, with my 3 best friends, be the most memorable New Year ever had. I'm picturing it as a very calm evening with a full moon. I can't imagine that would actually be the case. It'll probably be 30-foot waves, maybe even higher, getting battered by wind. But hopefully it will be the most memorable New Year of my life.
Yeah, I'm the same as James. I'm dreading the Marathon des Sables. I do not want to be in the Sahara running that much because I hate running. And James actually signed me up for it. I didn't want to do it at all. So he forced me into that. I'm really looking forward to the cycle for me. Just being with the 4 of us together, there's no pressure. There's just 2 weeks being together in the mountains. The experiences that James and I had when we were cycling to Istanbul were, like he said, some of the best experiences I've ever had, the best days I've had in my life. I'm looking forward to the cycle, the most.
For me, the one I'm looking forward to most is the row. I think for all the challenges, it's not something that I've actually ever been good at before, sports-wise, so this is all new experiences. But yeah, I think the row mentally and how that's going to push you is also an attractive thing, so you can see how far you can push yourself physically and mentally with everything else involved. But to know when you're out there, you're doing it for a good cause. So when you're in your toughest times, you know that there's a lot of people back here in the UK going through much worse things than we will be. So a bit of a driver to help get you across as well.
Definitely. And what do your family and friends think about what you're doing?
Well, I've tried to tell my mother as little as possible because some of them are quite dangerous and I don't want her knowing that. Probably not good at
I think she'll find out now.
But yeah, no, they are very supportive, very, very supportive. Family, friends, both financially and morale-wise, they're really encouraging. So yeah, everyone for me has been great so far.
Yeah, everyone, I think, they just think that we're all a bit bonkers, to be honest. Because they go, what, the world's hardest rowing race, the world's hardest running race, and what is probably the world's hardest swimming race officially. And then we've decided to do the world's hardest year and combine them all into one. So everyone asks how we're getting around things and training, and we seem to always manage to find a way and get it done in the end. But they're all very supportive. We've got our sort of launch party next Friday in St Paul's at the Rising Sun pub. Which is a sort of family-owned pub by a friend of ours. So we're going there to try and get everyone together, ask loads of questions. It's like an official launch day. We've got a big ball coming up on the 11th of May as well. And hopefully we'll have all our family and friends there to help support the cause.
I'm sure, the more general consensus that your family is obviously very proud and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a little bit, challenging and a bit worrying for the family in terms of, some of these challenges could be potentially very risky, right?
No, no.
Okay, sorry, Lorraine's mum.
No one's ever died in the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic race. Thankfully, this is why we were saying about Rufus's ocean rowing courses and stuff. We have to go through loads of different training and get actually 2 or 3 different qualifications to actually be allowed to do it ourselves. And when you get out to Lagomera for the start, the inspections and everything you have to go through. So this year's race, 2 teams didn't actually make it to the start line because they weren't ready to go across. So there is a lot of preparation that we have to do together to make sure we're...
and that's one of the reasons why we decided to do the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge rather than doing it ourselves, is the support you get from the race organisers, both in terms of the preparation before you leave and the support boats that follow the race, make it a lot more of a safer undertaking for us.
You definitely need that, so it's good to
That
hear.
was my mum saying you have to do it like that.
Good choice, Mum.
I know.
And how will you be keeping everyone kind of posted on what you're doing? So how can, let's say, if you finish your Saharan foot race, how can people find out what's going on, how you're preparing?
Our main platform for keeping people updated is Instagram. We are with Dorabros, just at Dorabros on Instagram. So if anyone wants to follow, feel free, please. You know.
I mean, while we're talking about it, so if you do want to get in touch with the guys or support them, your website is dorabros.com.
Yep.
And that's DORABROS.com. And then all your social medias, Dorabros, Instagram, Facebook,
Yep.
It's everything.
Twitter.
Yeah.
And there's a blog on our website that we'll start updating everyone with all the challenges. Each of us will be doing a blog a week, blog month, sorry.
Yeah.
So anyone who wants to follow our journey, it's all there.
You definitely should, guys. I mean, what you're doing, honestly, is truly inspiring. And that's where you can also donate. If you go to the Dorabros website, you'll find all the links that you need. I think every little helps at this point. So
Definitely.
For sure.
and
Yeah.
while we're talking about that, tell me a little about your sponsors.
Well, yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Our family and friends have been very supportive, but we don't want them to have to support us. We see this opportunity and this whole year of undertakings we're doing as a really good sponsorship opportunity for big businesses. They get their logo on our kit and on our equipment and get to be part of our story. And there's a huge advertising platform they reach by partnering up with us. So I think it's very beneficial for both parties.
I think last year the race stats were 3.3 billion in terms of people that they reached. Loads of world records were broken, and actually 3 more world records were broken this year. Fingers crossed next year as well.
Another world record for the Dorabros.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
So how many sponsors do you have so far?
I think about 7 or 8. So
Stash Merchant,
is one of them. Here.
Fantastic.
They donated all of our kit. They've personalised it up. So on the back, which you probably can't see, we've got all of our Instagram.
Show us, Charlie.
And the,
Here you go.
the Talisker Whiskey banner. We mentioned Dry Roads before, who have supported us with effectively big fluffy overcoats for when we get out of the swimming, and hopefully when we finish rowing as well, considering if we haven't fallen in. And yeah, the life jacket, Fiona Collins, and I mean there's quite a few different other ones, smaller donations as well that we can sort of probably list on for quite some time.
Okay, no, that's amazing. And you also touched on your May ball on the 11th.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little about that?
Well, Noam's in charge of the ball. It's his
Okay.
Yeah,
Tell us.
they've put me in charge of the ball. I think they're all regretting that as well.
No, you're doing a great job.
So we're hosting a big ball. It's going to be at the Royal Garden Hotel in Kensington. So we've got a 3-course dinner. We've got Isaac Gracie performing. We've got a big evening. We're holding an auction. It's going to be a really fun night. But it's basically a fundraising ball to help us raise funds for both the TCT and to fund our journey as well. It should be a great night if anyone in London wants to come along.
Yeah. All the information's on our website.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Okay, great.
Charlie's also looking for a date to the ball. So if there are any ladies out there who would like to go on a date with Charlie, just send us a message. We'll tell you why you shouldn't.
I think it's worth mentioning that James is in the same boat as I am.
Yeah.
And he's been trying for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, Carlos, you heard them. I was going to say, so how can people get tickets? Is it directly through your website? Or?
Yes.
Directly
Yeah.
to the website,
Okay.
There's a tab called Ball, so click on there, book a table, come along. Great fun.
Sounds good. I mean, I think think if there's anything else you guys want to add.
Just if there's any other companies out there, Albanian companies that maybe want to get involved with us, me and the team will be in Kosovo, Albania. We'll be doing a few runs out in Kosovo and a press tour as well. So if anyone wants to get involved there, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I mean, honestly, what you're doing is truly like inspiring. You should be incredibly proud, and I'm sure all your family and friends are. So please get behind the Dorabros. I was going to say Dorabros. Dorabros. When I met the guys at the start, I was like, I said Dorabros. Like, no, Dorabros. So get behind the Dorabros. As I mentioned, their website, we'll make sure to put it up on here. It's dorabros.com, and they've got all their shirts. Make sure to go and support them, and as mentioned, donate as much as you can. Every little helps. And if there's any companies out there that wants to sponsor the boys, again, all the information is on their website, the social media, and most importantly, we need to get James and Charlie a date.
That is number one priority.
And don't forget, this is all in aid to help raise money for an amazing charity and potentially open a new treatment unit. So thank you guys, really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much for having us.
And we'll definitely like to invite you back in terms of when you finish each one of the challenges. Come back and we'll do another interview and see how you got on.
Sounds great.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you guys for watching.